E-learning is a very effective training format with an established position in the market. However, as with any other teaching method, it has advantages and disadvantages. There are projects where it will work perfectly and others where it simply won't make sense. Let's not forget that e-learning complements, not replaces, a rich portfolio of educational formats. The role of the designer is to blend the available tools to meet the training needs of a given group. In the following video, I will present the pros and cons of e-learning. Of course, as a digital education enthusiast, you have to take into account that this is my very subjective opinion. Let's start with the cons. First of all, learning online requires much more commitment and discipline. In most cases, we are responsible for finding the right place to study and managing time. It is true that we can often count on remote support from the trainer, but in most cases we manage ourselves. It is difficult because from the beginning of our education, we are used to the fact that someone organized the entire development process for us. If we decide to study independently, we are the organizer. Secondly, online self-learners often have problems with motivation to study regularly. This problem increases with time and is especially pronounced with longer training sessions. Initial enthusiasm fades quickly and individuals drop out or postpone their studies. This is very clearly visible on MOOC platforms such as Coursera, where the dropout rate starting courses is over 90%. However, there are first studies that suggest how to increase the number of people completing the courses. Planning, learning buddy that will motivate us to learn, and choosing topics that align with our values and interests are the keys to success. Top 3 cons closes with quality problem. We live in times when there is no problem with access to learning materials. There are plenty of sources. Nowadays, anyone can share the knowledge online by selling access to their courses or prepared materials. We can choose from different formats. Finding something valuable in this thicket became a problem. Many of the people who design them may be expert in their field, but often have no idea about online training design. They copy the solutions applied or observed in traditional training with poor effects. As a result, a lot of content of very poor quality appeared on the market, which discouraged many people from using e-learning for a long time. The fourth biggest disadvantage of e-learning, in my opinion, are technologies. We may think that everybody uses a computer and has access to the internet these days, but this is not true. There are still many people who don't have basic computer knowledge or live in areas without broadband internet access, so they cannot participate in synchronous online classes. There are also technical problems that prevent or effectively discourage people to try this form of learning. Fifth, and the last disadvantage, are the general limitations related to the online world. One of the many benefits of stationary meetings is networking, building relationships. In the digital edition, it is much more difficult. It requires more time and commitment. Unfortunately, in many cases, e-learning courses offer little or no interaction between participants, which can also negatively affect the overall perception of the format. However, despite all these disadvantages, the number of companies and people using e-learning is growing every year and at a very fast pace. What prompts more and more investments in this form of learning? Let's move on to the pluses. First, results. Digital learning is super effective. I'm constantly encountering a myth glorifying classroom formats. However, most studies clearly indicate e-learning as the winner. Of course, there are a lot of variables that influence this result, but there is no doubt that digital learning works and produces the best results. If you need the proof, please check the websites run by Will Thalheimer or Patty Shank. Second, freedom. One of the main advantages that comes up right from the start is freedom. We decide ourselves about the topics, lecturer, format, place, pace and the time of learning, at least in the asynchronous version. We can learn after work, in the evenings, on weekends or even on the beach during vacation. Each of us has different requirements and only digital formats make it possible to satisfy all of them. Third, the richness. We have access to a global catalog of training materials and courses organized by leading universities, training companies and experts. The largest platforms in the world offer over 3,000 courses divided into over 300 specializations. Knowledge is always up to date and delivered in a professional manner. We have the opportunity to obtain recognized certification and even graduate, all without leaving home and often at a much more favorable price. Fourthly, personalization. Each of us is different, has different interests, experience and training needs. Two people working in the same position may have completely different requirements. Traditional training, due to its limitations, must be designed for everyone, ignoring individual needs. Digital formats make it possible to adjust the development process to each person individually to increase their motivation and learning efficiency and effectiveness. Fifth, save time. E-learning does not only save money on training logistics or resources. Digital formats, according to various studies, reduce learning time by 30 to 60% compared to traditional classroom training, which means that employees can faster implement new skills or be trained more often if needed. Finally, environmental protection, which has become increasingly important recently. Online learning reduces transport, logistics and the consumption of training materials. Training can be repeated an infinite amount of times without adversely affecting our surroundings. It is estimated that online courses require 90% less energy and generate 85% less CO2 per student compared to classroom training. To sum up, e-learning, like any other formats, has limitations, although the advantages of its use are much greater, which results in the popularization on the market. The implementation of newer and newer technology in education will partially eliminate the presented disadvantages and even more positive impact on the quality and effectiveness of development programs and training. I hope this video helped you understand the limitations and benefits of using e-learning. If you are interested in these topics, I encourage you to view the next videos. See you online.